There we are. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Live at 5 on the stroke of 5. Feeling a little yuckish today. I'm out here. This is my new background picture, which I took. I know it looks like it's out in the Sinai Desert, which is what I was kind of thinking, but it's actually Colorado. Yeah, this is in your backyard. This was the picture I took yesterday on a bike ride in Golden, and that's another nice background from Colorado and the beautiful state that we live in. But I put it on today because today is sort of a special occasion. We have actually a minor holiday today. This is a big week on Live at 5. We have 2 Jewish holidays coming up this week. Unbelievable. Little did you know. You probably didn't realize either one. We have not one, but 2 Jewish holidays this week, today and Friday. And I'm delighted to talk about today, which is Pesach Sheni, Passover number 2. Doesn't this look like Sinai? Here we are. We're out here in the Sinai Desert here. That's what it looks like, except it's really Golden, Colorado. Maybe it's a little greener than Sinai. I don't know. But it kind of reminded me that that sort of barren hilltop in the background reminded me a little of the Sinai Desert. And that's kind of what we're celebrating. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. First, I just wanted to welcome everyone. And I wanted to give a mazel tov to our dear friends and students, Jonathan and Rebecca Rama Kafina, who made a bris yesterday for their newborn son, and they named him after me. I was so excited. So it turned out his name is Elchanan Raphael. Isn't that nice? Elchanan Raphael. Now, it isn't really after me, but the father, Jonathan, told me that he chose that name because of some of the deeper meaning of the Hebrew of the name. So Elchanan is from the word chonen, which is to grant, to bestow, to give. And Raphael, my name has to do with the word refuah, which means healing. When someone's not feeling good, we wish them a refuah shalema, a speedy recovery. We wish them healing. And so Raphael is related to that name, healing. So he named his son that name in sort of symbolically, because we are, we feel like we've been gifted with a heaven sent healing to the great pandemic that's going on. Isn't that amazing? So that's what they named Elchanan Raphael in honor of the beautiful heaven sent healing that the world should receive, is receiving. Not all parts of the world yet, but thank God many of us, and we feel like we're moving on to a better place. I want to just thank everyone who came out to the Cholent Kiddush event that we had on Shabbos. I have to figure out when the next one is. It's coming up not too soon, but it was nice to see people in person. And we're looking forward to doing more and more of those in-person things. There are a couple of nice in-person events coming up for our JUPRO Young Professionals. There's a fun event tomorrow night called Taco Tuesday. All right, so there you have it. And later in the week, for Thursday night, there's a Lag BaOmer beer garden event. Wouldn't it be nice to be a young professional? Tacos, beer, they have all the fun. So those events are going on for them this week. And we could take a look more on the JUPRO. If you or anybody you know is in that 20-something, 30-something, maybe young professional set, then these events are for you, and you should check them out. Go to look at the Jewish Experiences website, or go to JUPRO. And if you're on Facebook, they have a great Facebook page. We are getting dangerously close to starting Clean Speech Ottawa. Our first international clean speech campaign is starting May 1st, in just a couple of days into the week. And they're gearing up and getting excited. That's really, really a lot of fun. And Clean Speech Minnesota winding down. We saw some great lessons. I saw some amazing videos. That's really thrilling. And there's a lot of the international energy brewing around it is just fantastic. I was on an international Jewish educators conference last week. I think I mentioned it. I shouldn't say this publicly, but I was actually tag teaming 2 Zoom conferences at the same time. I had one on my laptop and one on my phone. And the only problem was when the volume from one went into the other, and it was kind of embarrassing. But other than that, I was able to participate. They say you can't dance at zwei chasanas. You can't dance at two weddings, but you could do two Zoom conferences, and I have done it. Now, one of those conferences, anyway, I was on, and an old educator who I haven't seen in decades. I mean, really decades. When I first came to Colorado, I met him, and he flew in, and we did a college, a CU Boulder college Shabbaton together in Estes Park. And we met and we bonded, and I hadn't really seen him in person since. And there he was running this educators conference from Jerusalem, where he now lives. And then I said, we chatted off to the side, and I said, "Hey, so nice to see you." And he said, "Wow, nice to catch up with you." And I hear all these great things about Clean Speech, Colorado. And I'm like, wow, look how far we've come. You know, we're all over the planet, and Colorado has that feather in its cap that we're going to be we're leading the leagues in a lot of things, unfortunately. But some things are good things, and Clean Speech hopefully is one of them. So that's a nice thing. Now, for those of you who just joined us, welcome. We're moving on today. We're talking about the minor holiday that has occurred, that is what we are in the midst of today. And this holiday is really something special. It's a very special idea. It is a minor holiday, but it does come from the Torah. And that's kind of a contradiction, because usually we think of the ones that come from the Torah are the major ones, and the ones that come from later are the minor ones. This is a minor one that comes from the Torah. Now let's talk about what that is. So this holiday, Passover number 2, Pesach Sheni, literally Passover number 2, happens exactly 1 month after Passover number 1. So if you were wondering how long it's been since Passover, and if your digestion is finally just settling down, it's been an entire month. Now we're up to Pesach Sheni, Passover number 2. And the origins and the roots of this minor holiday are as follows. The very, very, very first Passover. Imagine the Jewish people have just gotten out of Egypt, and they're wandering through the desert. It looked kind of like that. And they're wandering through the desert. They're on their way to Mount Sinai, and they get to Mount Sinai. Okay, just imagine this is Mount Sinai behind me. And they camp around Mount Sinai, of course. And at the holiday of Shavuos, the presence of God comes to the top of the mountain. Mount Moshe climbs up. Divine presence come down, and the voice of God belts out the 10 commandments for every man, woman, and child to hear. And the Jewish people set about there shortly thereafter, cut to the chase, they set about to build the tabernacle. And that takes all winter. And in the spring, on about the first anniversary of Passover, okay, so there were they were ready. The Jewish people had built the tabernacle, and they were ready to inaugurate it, and they did. And they did on the 1st of Nisan. Nisan being the Jewish month in which Passover falls. So that was going to be it's the 15th of Nisan Passover. So 2 weeks later would be the first celebration of the Passover, right? Of the Passover holiday, the 1 year, the first anniversary of the Exodus. And they still were there, right there at Mount Sinai. And it happened to be that then and there, they were going to bring the Passover offering, the Paschal lamb. Now, there was a Paschal lamb the previous year back in Egypt. It was from the Paschal lamb that they took some of the blood and they put it on their doorposts, and they marked their doors, so that when God, during the plague of the firstborn, came through Egypt, he passed over their doors. That was the year before. That was when they were in Egypt. Now this is 1 year later, and it's the first commemorative celebration of the Exodus, right? And they were getting ready, everyone, to do to bring again that same Paschal lamb offering, that Passover offering. Not because they were going to take the blood and put it on the doorposts of their tents in the desert around Mount Sinai. They weren't going to do that, but eating that offering, a little bit of the meat from that little roasted sheep or goat, whatever it's going to be, that was a focal point, a major piece of the Passover Seder that they were going to make. The very first Passover Seder was going to feature as its high point where they were gonna eat the Paschal lamb. However, there was for a small group of people, there was a minor problem. Small group of people, not everybody. Most people were fine and they celebrated that first Passover just fine, just like I described. But there was a small group of people, and they were, for technical reasons, they were disqualified at that time from bringing the Paschal lamb, for bringing the Passover offering. So they could have a Seder, they could celebrate the holiday, but their Seder wouldn't have the Paschal lamb in it because they weren't able to do that. They were ritually disqualified for various reasons. There are a couple of opinions about exactly who this small group were. The Torah in Parshas Behalosecha actually records that this small group was not satisfied with that state of affairs. They were exempt, and everybody else brought the offering and they didn't get to, and they were not satisfied with that state of affairs. So what did they do? So they actually came forward, they stepped forward, and they spoke up, and they went to Moshe and Aaron and the elders, and they said, Lama Nigara, why should we be left out of this amazing opportunity for divine service, for celebrating Passover with the Paschal lamb together with the rest of the Jewish people? They didn't want to be left out. They didn't want to miss out on that. And so they said, what can be done? Now, normally it's kind of an odd question. Well, what can we do? There isn't anything to be done for you. You missed it, come back next year. But that isn't what happened. In this fascinating Torah story, Moshe hears their question, he feels their pain, their angst, and he sees what's written on their face. And he says, I'm going to ask. And he says, I'm going to go hang out, take 5 here, stay here, and I'm going to go ask God. And he goes and he says, what can we do for these people? And God says, we are going to have another opportunity exactly 1 month later, when the cause for ritual disqualification will have passed. And now they will qualify and they'll be able to do it. 1 month later, we're going to have Passover number 2. And it's going to be an opportunity for them to step up to the plate, come to the tabernacle, bring a lamb or sheep, and have the opportunity to bring their Passover offering like the rest of the Jewish people had done. It's an amazing thing. It's literally an amazing thing. There are a couple of amazing things here. Number one of the amazing things is that this holiday is like the holiday of second chances. It's like a celebration of second chances. There is a second chance. They missed out on the first chance. It didn't work out the first time, and they were able to have a second chance. They came and said, "Can we do it?" And how many of us don't you love a holiday? We have so many silly Hallmark holidays. This is like and what was it the other day? It was annual. Oh, it's somebody sent me an email last week. I missed out on this. I should have announced it if I'd have known in time. It was annual cold press coffee day. Okay. Cold brew coffee. If you're a cold brew coffee fan, you missed it. Last week was your annual holiday. Okay. I mean, we have all these like little minor silly holidays in life. This is a good one. It's the holiday of second chances. Who doesn't want that? The chance, the celebration of, if you for some reason couldn't get to do it the first time, we have another chance for you. Beautiful day. That is a holiday. What kind of card would you send? You go to the Hallmark aisle and you skip past the birthdays and anniversary cards, and you're looking for the Pesach Sheni card. And you open it up, and what does it say? And it says, I'm sorry I missed your birthday, I missed your anniversary, I missed your promotion, I missed your graduation, and but yet I don't want to miss out on this. That would be the Hallmark card that would go with Pesach Sheni. I once actually, I was in my youth, I was an English literature major, and I wanted to major in my specialty would be I wanted to teach a class in postcard writing, because I think there's a very fine art to writing a postcard, and even my audience, you guys remember what a postcard is. And these days, these kids have never written a postcard in their lives, but there's this fine art to sitting down with a postcard. It's a very small amount of space, and you have to have a salutation and a closing, and you have to get the message across. You have to say, wish you were here in there somewhere. I wanted to teach a class in postcard writing. So what if we were writing a card? I could at least maybe, have a minor in writing Hallmark cards for minor Jewish holidays like Pesach Sheni. And we should write a card like that for, sorry, I missed out on, on sending you that present. And I'd like another opportunity. That would be the Hallmark card for Pesach Sheni. And God said, you can have another chance. So it's a beautiful, beautiful holiday from that regard. The other thing I think is very beautiful about it is that that we see a group of people who very courageously stepped forward to ask and to say, hey, what's with us? We are left out of this opportunity to serve. Because again, this is not a self-serving thing. They're not saying we wanted something for ourselves. They wanted to say we want an opportunity to give this offering, to bring this offering to the temple. We want also to serve God in this way, like the rest of the Jewish people. And that's a very, very beautiful attitude. I think that God shows us how beautiful it is by rewarding it with this holiday for them. And that attitude is something which my Rosh Yeshiva of blessed memory, Rabbi Mendel Weinberg, he was very meaning this lesson, this holiday was very meaningful to him. I heard him speak about it several times. He was a very dear mentor of mine until his passing, shortly after I got to Denver. And he was actually the sandik to hold my oldest son for his bris. So it was very close. And when he would speak about this holiday, he always speak about this idea about the attitude that group of people had. And he would say the following, there's two ways that you could be off the hook. Okay. Off the hook, meaning it's not an obligation you have anymore. There are two ways. Number one, you could be exempt. I'm exempt. There are lots and lots of things I would like to be exempt from, like car registration fees. I would love to be exempt from that. If you would tell me that I could get a buy or a pass and an exemption from paying the registration fee for a new car, I would be thrilled with an exemption. I don't want that. I don't have to worry about that. I'll take an exemption if you'll give me one. That's one way to not have to do something. The other way is to be fulfilled. That would mean like you've done it already. If I paid the fee, obviously now I don't have to pay it anymore. So you can either be exempt or you could be fulfilled. And they were exempt. They didn't have to bring the Paschal lamb. They were off the hook. They could have just said, exempt, like I don't have to pay my car registration fees. I could save a couple bucks on the Paschal lamb this year. They could have said that. They were exempt. They didn't do anything wrong. They had nothing to do, no obligation whatsoever. They're exempt. But when it comes to service of God in Judaism, they didn't want to be exempt. They wanted to be fulfilled. They wanted to do the mitzvah. They just didn't want to be exempt from the mitzvah. They wanted to do the mitzvah. That's really the idea. We wanted to do the mitzvah. The last week I heard a beautiful idea shared by Rabbi Yechiel Spiro. Rabbi Spiro is a prominent orator and teacher, and actually is a high school teacher in Baltimore. So he said the following idea, quoting one of the famous Hasidic Rebbes, the Ger Rebbe. The Torah says that, we have these mitzvahs. It says you should do these mitzvahs v'chai behem, and you should live in them. Now, you should live in them. Typically what that means is that you don't have to die in them. Like, don't kill yourself for a mitzvah. If doing this mitzvah is going to kill you, you're exempt. You don't have to do it. For example, if someone says, if God forbid, someone would say to you, I need you to eat this ham and cheese sandwich or I'm going to kill you, you would say, pass the mustard, because you don't have to give up your life rather than eat a ham and cheese sandwich. Okay. You don't have to give up your life for that. There are some exceptions. There are the 3 cardinal sins that you would have to give your life rather than transgress. Okay, so there are certain things, but mostly not 610 things. You don't have to do that for, right? However, that's the typical understanding of v'chai behem v'lo v'yomas behem. You should live in the mitzvahs. You don't have to kill yourself for them. But the Ger Rebbe said a beautiful alternative idea. He said what it means to say, it can be understood to mean v'chai bahem means that through the mitzvahs that you live, that real living comes from the mitzvahs. When you do the mitzvah, now that's when you're living. You have to get that attitude of a feeling of when you're in the midst of doing one of the commandments of the Torah, now that's living. As my Bubby would say, a machaya, that really makes you feel like you're living, right? So to hear, that's the way to address it. And that's the way that this group of people felt about the mitzvahs. They didn't want to be off the hook. They wanted to be fulfilled. They didn't want to be exempt. They wanted to do it. It's a great attitude. It's a great way to approach. We should approach all of Judaism that way. I don't want to be exempt. I want to be fulfilled. I want to actually do it. I don't want to just be off the hook. So that is, those are a few thoughts for Pesach Sheni. It's, it really is this special, albeit minor holiday. How do we celebrate it today? Listen, one could get could be sad because we don't have the opportunity to bring the Paschal Lamb, not the first time around, nor the second time around. The temple itself isn't yet rebuilt, and we're still stuck, without a temple. So my Seder and your Seder, none of our Seders had a Passover lamb. It wasn't just a minority problem; it was everybody's problem. None of our Seders have a Paschal lamb at the moment, and it is our fervent prayer that speedily and soon in our lifetime, so that we can taste the sweetness of the fulfillment of that mitzvah. We can celebrate a Passover the way it's supposed to taste, with the lamb, with the roast lamb at the Seder. That's our fervent prayer. God should speedily rebuild the temple, restore his presence to Jerusalem, and allow us to do the mitzvahs the way that they're meant to be done. The way that we observe it today is as we've mentioned before, with minor holidays, we just omit one of the portions of the daily liturgy called Tachanun. So the service gets a little shorter. Maybe that's room for celebration. I don't know. And the other thing we often do is people eat matzah. So today, if you haven't already, go collect your matzah leftovers and make another matzah brai. And that's what it means. It's Passover number 2. It's matzah brai 1 month later. I had this morning, some of that round handmade matzah that I had saved special, and I smeared it with some cream cheese and lox and a little avocado on the other side, and had it with a little yogurt. It was fabulous, and it really brought me back. Really, really brought me back. The good news about Pesach Sheni is that you don't have to clean your kitchen from chametz. That's the other really good news, Oh, I see someone else had a matzah pizza for lunch. There you go. See, look at that. You don't. This is Passover, like the best of all worlds, right? You could eat matzah if you like to, and you could also have challah at the same meal. You could have Shabbos challah leftovers and Passover matzah leftovers at the same meal. Don't try that during the first Pesach, but you could do it during the second. You didn't have to clean out the kitchen for this holiday. You just got to eat the meat of the Paschal lamb. So it's a really it's a little minor one. But it's a cool week, beginning and ending, as we said, with these minor holidays. Later on, in the week, we'll talk about the one that's Friday, Lag BaOmer. But today we're delighted with that. I also just wanted to mention for the last 2 minutes, I wanted to talk about another amazing in Jewish history today. It is the Yartzeit, meaning the annual commemoration of the passing of one of our great sages of the Mishnah, very, very, very famous. He is often referred to by his full title. His name was Mayer, Rabbi Mayer Baal Hanes, as we call him, Rabbi Mayer Baal Hanes. Baal Hanes means he was the master of miracles. And Rabbi Mayer is one of the most significant voices in the entire Mishnah. Okay, the entire Mishnah. In fact, we have a general rule that if you see that there's an opinion in the Mishnah that doesn't have a name associated with it. Okay, it doesn't say who said it. It doesn't say, so said Rabbi Akiva or so said Rabbi Yehuda or anybody like that. It's just an opinion without a name. Our tradition is that means that it was the opinion of Rabbi Mayer. Okay, can you imagine how significant that is? The every basic opinion, unless we hear otherwise, is his opinion. Is like the default. The default opinion of the Mishnah is his. That's an incredible thing. He was said to be so brilliant in his day that they were almost wary of listening to him and his opinions exclusively, because he could so capably argue both sides of an issue. He could just as capably convince you of one side of the argument as he could the other. So that was an incredible thing. Now so we have his opinions all over the Mishnah, and is one of the most significant voices. So today is his yahrzeit. Now there is an interesting practice that we have that I want to recommend. Okay, and it involves Rabbi Mayer and his memory. So there was this amazing story in the Talmud. There was a particular person who was in I forget exactly all the details. He was in a fairly bad spot, a very tight spot, and he was told that by Rabbi Mayer himself. He said, "Look, if you'll do the following, if you will say, if you'll pray to the God of Rabbi Mayer, as it were, I mean, God Almighty, but you'll mention my name, mention my name. If you'll say, God of Rabbi Mayer, and answer me, he'll answer." And so said the story. And we have this tradition. We specifically invoke Rabbi Mayer's name in prayer in this way when we've lost a lost object. Okay, there's this very interesting practice that if you've lost something, anything, your car keys, you lost your wallet, you lost a box of tissues, anything you've lost it, what you can do is, and you'd like to find it, is that you can give a little bit of tzedakah, could be more, can give some tzedakah in the merit of Rabbi Mayer, Baal HaNes, Master of Miracles, and then we say a certain prayer, and we say Elokad Meir Aneni, we say the God of Rabbi Mayer, answer me, and that is an amazing thing. Now that's often accompanied by another verse. It's actually a verse from the Torah reading of Rosh Hashanah. And over there in the story that's read on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, we talk about Hagar and Yishmael in the desert. And Hagar and Yishmael were sent away from Abraham's household because Sarah said that their presence in Isaac's life was problematic spiritually for Isaac's development. And God said to Abraham, she's right, listen to her words. And to Abraham's chagrin, the right thing to do at that time was to send them away. And so they wandered out into the desert. And the story talks about them sort of wandering bereft in the hot desert sun. And she and her son there sort of sat down, and who knows what was going to be. And they didn't seem to have any water at the time. They must have run out. And then the Torah says she lifted up her eyes, and there she saw in front of them a chemes mayim, which is like a jug of water. And so our sages say that there's like an amazing thing, that it was right there and she didn't see it. What did it take? All it took was that God had to open up her eyes. And so when we're looking for something, it's there. We just can't find it. It's right in front of us and we can't see it. And so what do we need? We just need, like God opened up Hagar's eyes to see the water, God needs to open our eyes. So we say that verse, we remind ourselves of that story, and we say the whole world is blind until God opens up her eyes, just like God opened up Hagar's eyes and she saw exactly what she needed. And God, open up my eyes and let me find what I'm looking for. God of Rabbi Mayer, Master of Miracles, and you put a little tzedakah in the tzedakah box in his honor. and you'll find what you're looking for. Okay. And I'll close with this. We had the most amazing story about this, and that I'll never forget. And there are many stories, because this has never failed. This has never let me down. But I have to tell you this one that was the most amazing. I'll try to tell you quickly. A few years ago, when my youngest child was fairly young, my mom, his grandmother, bought him, and it was in the summer, and his siblings and cousins. She bought them all drones, those little like quadcopter things that like fly around. Those are, kids love those, and they are notoriously difficult to fly. So he was all excited, and as soon as he got the battery charged, he ran out in the front of the house immediately, plugged it in, he threw aside the instructions, and he turned on everything full blast, and that thing flew up in the air and went away out of sight, out of mind, instant. There was not a thing he could do. Crushed. Oh, was he crushed? We were all crushed. He was so sad, right? A little kid, first flight, boom, off it goes. So we started looking at it. We said, oh yeah, what are we going to do? We jumped in the car. We headed off in that direction. It was due west. So we started driving around in the neighborhood due west. We're looking, can't find it, nothing. We don't know how far it went. It just went, it just kept going. It flew away. We couldn't see where it landed. We don't know if it landed. Driving, couldn't find it. Came back, looked at the instructions. Is there a recall button? Can we get a refund, a do-over? Is there a do-over? Something, help me. Kid is depressed, tears welling up in his eyes. What can we do? We go out, we get back in the car, we drive around again, nothing. We look, can't find it. There was a picnic starting. Everybody else went to the picnic, and I just got this one sad kid. So I said, all right, here's what we're going to do. Go get $1, stick it in the tzedakah box. We're going to say the special verse. We're going to remember Hagar. We're going to cry out to the God of Rabbi Mayer. And we're going to make a sign that says, if you find a drone, please call us and bring it home, right? So we did that. We drove out of the house, and right due west, the same place we'd been before. And we saw a couple of kids right there, right after we got in the house. We saw a couple of kids. We thought maybe we'll ask them if they saw a drone. We drove over there, and my son was embarrassed, and he said, don't ask them. And I said, okay. And right at that moment, I kid you not, the remote control in his hand burst into life with the noise and the sounds, like the drone is near. And he flicked the switch, and it fell out of a tree, and it landed right in front of the car. Unbelievable. It was the most unbelievable thing. We had been there 3 times. It was right next to the house. It was the first minute of looking right after we gave the tzedakah and we said the prayer. The God of Rabbi Mayer. Today is his yahrzeit. May his memory be for a blessing. And that's been our show, folks. Have a great, healthy, and holy day. And we'll see you tomorrow at Live at 5.